Hi, my name is Julia Haro, and today I will be discussing the issues with recruitment and retention in healthcare positions. So what I learned through this process is that there is a large lack of professionals due to the issue with recruiting because it is seemingly not done in a proper manner to attract the correct audience, and there is a large number of employee dissatisfaction because of this. And we will discuss later about extrinsic values versus intrinsic values and how that plays a large role in satisfaction of any job position. And what the audience will learn today is that there is a need for both these extrinsic and intrinsic rewards. And we will also discuss the methods to improve this recruitment and retention. And so the importance of recruitment is to be able to obtain employees as well as keep your employees and keep them happy. If your employees are not satisfied in their job, then you will have a very high number of employees that will be leaving the facility, and therefore it's important to retain them and keep them happy throughout their position. It's also important to spread healthcare to undeserved areas and rural areas, because if that does not get fixed, then there are people that are unable to obtain the correct healthcare that they need. So in the workplace, one of the articles that I researched was written by Kane in 2019, and it discussed that there's a lot of workplace bullying targeted towards the newer employees and the younger employees, and because of that they are somewhat of outcasts and they're not trained properly to understand and represent the company that they're working for correctly. And this means that the HR department is not very approachable or trustable. It's very important to have that area expanded so that every employee is able to reach out, get the assistance that they need, and also be able to educate their employees correctly. And if new employees do not receive enough attention, then they will feel undesired in those areas and lead to higher turnover rates. Similarly, in 2017, there's an article written by Callahan about college students and the recruitment of college students into their professions, because many college students, the only opinion that they receive is from their professors, so they don't completely understand all the positions that are available to them based on what they are studying. If the only opinion that they're receiving is from their professors, then they're unable to easily decide what they would like to do and the career path that they would like to take. And this professor's influence is very strong to the students. So in order to fix that, an outreach program needs to be developed, and career path knowledge needs to be further examined. And then in 2013, Morgan discussed the issues between intrinsic and extrinsic values. And intrinsic means what you receive, like feeling good from what you're working through and being able to help people. But extrinsic values are things like wages and promotional offers and these externalities. But it has been shown that the problems of people wanting to stay at their jobs, if they want to leave their jobs, it's typically due to extrinsic rewards that are not completely filled. So if there's no promotional offerings, then that will lead to a higher turnover rate because people are unable to receive the money that they believe they deserved after a long period of working. And so this leads to low wages, poor benefits, and no advancements in their job position, which leads to an unhappy employee. And so if you increase the extrinsic rewards, then it'll lead to greater job satisfaction. And another issue is that in rural America, there is a huge number of citizens that go to emergency care rather than general care and primary care due to the lack of availability of healthcare in their area. Because they are lacking in healthcare in their area, they can't get the right treatment that they need, and this takes up about 20% of the American population. About 20% live in rural areas that don't have healthcare, whereas only 12% of physicians practice in these rural areas. So you see this large difference of 8% increase of need in those areas where they are not being treated and there's not enough outreach programs for employees to go out and work in those areas because it's not highly desired and the extrinsic benefits are not very high. But we have seen that if health providers are from rural areas, they are more likely to work in these rural areas. But that is about the only way that they attempt to obtain employees in those areas. But for solutions, Callahan discussed that implementing student outreach programs like social media, apprenticeships, and on-hand internships are very helpful to educate the students in possible career paths that they may have not been aware of otherwise. And so this gives them educational opportunities for the potential jobs that they may take in the future, positions that need to be filled, but they may have not known otherwise. And McQueen discusses that working on rural training will lead to an increase of 44% staying. So if there are these apprenticeships and internships that allow students to practice in these areas, about 44% of these students decide to stay in those rural areas and increase the healthcare there, which would overall increase the healthcare nationwide. And Wheeler in 2013 stated that there is the Division of Rural Health and Recruitment, which has provided several programs that allow loan forgiveness if you work in the rural areas for several years. So many physicians take this route in order to have their student loans paid off. They also provide a few years of their service in these areas that need this healthcare assistance. Kane discussed that educating employees on the company culture is very important to retain these employees because they're able to gain a sense of understanding of what they're working for and what they are doing. But these new employees also need more attention than long-term employees because they need to be educated on what is going on and be trained for their position correctly. So he discussed that in some ways to implement that would be 90-day reviews from trained professionals upon the employee, and also increased succession planning, which means basically laying out how an employee is able to grow through the company and eventually get promotional offers, which would make them feel more valued as an employee with the company. This would lead to greater supervisor support, which the employees would feel more valued as well, and increased promotional opportunities, which are all ways that extrinsic rewards are able to be increased as well. Once we see these extrinsic rewards increase, then we'll see greater job satisfaction as well, because a lot of healthcare professionals do receive the intrinsic rewards of helping others and supporting them, but they don't receive the intrinsic rewards like wage raises and support from their fellow peers and supervisors. And in conclusion, we should be paying attention to the youth and the future of healthcare because these, especially students or those that are just entering the workforce, because students are unaware of potential positions that they may have, and if they are exposed, then they will be able to get a bigger grasp on where they're headed and what they enjoy doing. If they receive this passion, then they are able to be more passionate and learn the jobs that they are going to go into. So greater training is also very important for individuals because if they feel like they're trained properly, they'll feel more respected in the workforce and not bullied potentially by long-term coworkers. Outreach programs are also very important to educate these young people and have them go into internships and apprenticeships, especially in rural areas, to help the parts of America that are underserved. But especially important is the use of media because as the time is growing, media is becoming more and more involved. And if companies don't evolve with technology, then they're unable to increase job retention. With the use of media, they're able to gain the younger audience in and get the younger audience to have more attention towards what they would like to work towards. And also they need to provide greater opportunities for growth, and training would provide that. But rural area training is very important in order to increase professionals in those areas that need assistance, because most of the professionals that work in those areas are from them. But if we have greater outreach programs and like the loan forgiveness program, then more students and younger professionals are willing to go towards there. We're unable to go back in time and adjust how we've been going through recruiting processes in the healthcare industry, but it is not too late to adjust how we are going to move forward in the healthcare industry through training, greater training, outreach programs, and use of social media. We're able to sculpt the future of the healthcare industry.